Hello everyone, this is Sri, and in this series of videos, I will be talking about the book Pragmatic Programmers. Now, in this particular video, we will be discussing the first section of the book, which talks about a pragmatic philosophy, where we see basically what pragmatic programmers are. So, what distinguishes pragmatic programmers? Well, it is an attitude, it is a philosophy of approaching problems and their solutions. They think beyond the immediate problem, placing it in its larger context and seeking out the bigger picture. And that's what makes them pragmatic and not just a regular programmer. So that's fine and all, but how do we become a pragmatic programmer? Well, first things first, are you happy with where you are right now? In your personal life, and specifically what we're talking about, your career, right? If you are unhappy at your job, whether it be your environment, your work environment, or you feel like the technology is passing by you quickly, or whatever it is, if you are unhappy about it, you have the power to change it. It is your life that you're living. It is your life, you own it, you run it, and you create it. So if you're unhappy with it, why can't you change it, right? And this industry gives you a remarkable set of opportunities. Be proactive and take them. So if your work environment sucks, if your job is boring, then try to fix it, but don't try forever, right? And if the technology seems passing you by, then learn the new stuff. And here you're investing in yourself, so doing it while you're off the clock seems reasonable. And if you want to work remotely, ask them, and if they say no, find another place to work. There's that to it. You just have to try to get where you want to get to. Now, say you are okay with where you work. Now the next situation is you make a mistake, right? You make a mistake, and how are you going to deal with it? You can't just say that you can't blame it on any of your coworkers or any of the situations, or just give lame excuses. You have to take responsibility. That is one of the most important characteristics of a pragmatic programmer, taking responsibility for your mistakes or actions, because everyone does it. Doesn't matter if you are really good at programming, your team is absolutely perfect. Mistakes do happen, even to the best of us. The thing is, the pragmatic programmers, they know how to deal with it. They know how to take responsibility. Responsibility is something you actively agree to. You make a commitment to ensure that something is done right, but you don't necessarily have direct control over every aspect of it. So in addition to you doing your personal best, you must analyze the situation for any risks that are beyond your control. And for those risks, you have the right to not take responsibility for it if they have, and for like an impossible solution, or for situations where the risks are too great. But when you do accept the responsibility for an outcome, you should be expected to be held accountable for it. Now, being responsible, taking responsibility doesn't just mean saying, I'm sorry, and giving a lame excuse. It means that you own up to your mistake and also give a solution for it. If your master storage melts, taking all of your source code with you, and you don't have a backup, it is your fault. You do have to be accountable for it and provide a solution for it. Instead of excuses, provide options. Don't say can't be done, explain what can be done to salvage the situation. Now, that's what someone does when something goes terribly wrong, that you do have to report to someone and make sure that it gets corrected and such things. But So what do we do when the problem starts small, right? When the problem starts small and you don't take care of it, it would lead to software entropy, or in simpler terms, software rot. So to explain the situation better, I would like to give an analogy for it. Take an example of two buildings, right? In a local area, there is one absolutely beautiful, clean, nicely constructed building, and on the other side, there is a rotten building. Now, what takes a building that is so clean and perfect to a rotting one, an abandoned, rotting, littered one? Well, the difference is just one broken window. It basically lies in the philosophy of the people that work on this, right? If there is one broken window and no one bothered to fix it, then there is going to be another broken window, because people just think that this building is not being taken care of anymore. So what's the problem? So there's going to be another broken window and another one, and people start littering everywhere, and there's going to be graffiti on the walls, and soon it would turn into a bad, rotten apartment. And the similar thing applies to your code as well. It would start with one broken window, that is, there's some bug somewhere and a bad design, whatever it is, and the people that's working on them just don't care. The philosophy is just basically, no one's fixing it, so why should I, right? And then it would lead to more broken windows, more of such things, because the whole team is now hopeless. So don't live with broken windows, basically. If you find a bug, fix it as soon as possible. Do not wait until the end of the code to fix the little bug up, right? If you can't fix it in time, then board it up or comment something saying this is not implemented yet, and anything to show that something has happened and you are on top of the situation. Now, you also have to remember that while fixing that one broken window, that you don't cause 4 more broken windows. So you have to make sure that there is no collateral damage while fixing that one bug. And in the same vein as the situation we just talked about, I would like to tell you another story about boiled frogs, right? So they say that when you put a frog in a pot of boiling water, it would jump out of that pot. Why? Because it's boiling hot. But however, if you put a frog in a normal temperature and put it on the stove and start boiling it, then it would not jump because of the slow increase in temperature, and just stay still until it's cooked. So what I'm trying to get from this story is that don't be the little frog and notice the change that's happening around you. Keep an eye on the big picture and constantly review what's happening around you, and not just what you are personally doing. So make sure that you keep up with your teammates, or just moving on from all of that. Let's talk about how good enough software is good enough. Okay, so what basically means is that you need to discipline yourself to write software that's good enough. That is good enough for your users and for your future maintenance and for yourself. It does not need to be perfect. You do not need to spend multiple months to perfect your software. That is not what the users came to you for. That is not what the users want. So to accomplish this, you need to involve your users in this trade-off, right? You need to talk to them and then review with them what functions, what features they want in the software, and also by what the deadlines are, what the time limits are. These are the basic ones that we already do. That's what you're supposed to do when you communicate with your user. But in addition to all of that, you need to make quality a requirements issue too. So you might be surprised, but many users would rather use software with some rough edges today than wait a year for the shiny bells and whistles version. So ask them what they want. And great software today is often preferable to the fantasy of a perfect software tomorrow. So if you give your users something to play with now, you can get their feedback on this version, and maybe you can implement a more preferable version next time. You need to understand that programming is like painting, and you need to know when to stop. So do not spoil a perfectly good program by over embellishment and overdoing things. Just create a good enough, great version of your software and move on, and let your code stand in its own right for a while. It does not need to be perfect, and it could never be perfect. Nothing could ever be perfect. So don't ruin the good code thinking it needs more and more and more and more. It doesn't most of the time. So just know where you need to stop and leave that there. Next topic, your knowledge portfolio. Now, Benjamin Franklin once said, an investment in knowledge always pays the best interest. And he's true. Your knowledge and experience are your most important day-to-day professional assets. However, unfortunately, they are expiring assets as well. But there is one asset that is more important than these, which doesn't expire, and that would be your ability to learn new things, right? So your knowledge portfolio is really important especially for this career, right? You need to invest in it regularly. You need to make small changes. You need to make small additions to your portfolio, and some basic guidelines for doing so would be, well, first of all, to diversify the things you do. The more different things you know, the more valuable you are. So keep that in mind. You need to review and rebalance. That hot technology you started investigating last month might be stone cold by now. So you need to brush up on what's popping right now, and you need to work on that. To improve your knowledge portfolio, you can make small goals, such as, for example, learn at least one new language every year, or read technical books each month, and take classes, or participate in local user groups and meetups, and experiment with different environments, and most importantly, stay current, like read news and post online on technology and different from your current project. So you know what's happening basically, and you keep up with them in case you might need it later. Like it doesn't matter if you ever use any of these technologies on your project. It basically just sharpens you up. You can use the ideas that you've learned in one concept, and you can apply it to your project. So it's important to stay on top of these new things. And lastly, say you are perfect at all of these things, you know how to code and all of these things, however, you don't know how to communicate it. That would basically make you useless. Harsh truth. But as a programmer, as a developer programmer, you need to know how to communicate to people. Whether it be, even if you're a lone wolf and working for your own, you need to know how to communicate with your users, with other people, anything. And the best idea for this is basically knowing your audience and knowing what you want to communicate, and make sure that it's not boring, so that you know how to make it across to people. So you need to learn these strategies so that you communicate to people and not just talk. So that is really important for this job. You can apply all of these principles to your personal life as well, but these are the basic principles of being a pragmatic programmer. So thank you, and have a good day.